How are you guys doing today? Good?
Yeah, good. It's a great event.
Wonderful. So, Drew, with Pre-App 1003, I'm going to give you the first question today. And the question is, what is the best approach to taking a borrower application? Is there a system or process that you find works better than others?
I think that's a loaded question because I don't know if there's a best way to take an application. I do want to start out before we get into the answers. It's an honor to be with Blend and Flowify. I mean, these are great systems, and I just appreciate AIME and everything that the organization is doing. A little background about myself. I do come from 20 years background as a mortgage broker. Or mortgage originator, 15 years as a mortgage broker. Still own a broker shop, and so Pre-App 1003 was birthed out of my need to just help make my job easier. So that being said, I want to use that to segue into the answer. Brokers have and originators have different ways that they like to interact with customers. You have some that they want everything automated. They want to complete, full 1003. They don't want to even talk to the customer. Then you got others that they want to do the whole interview, verbally. And then you have others that, they want to get the ball rolling. They want something that's very easy to get it started, and then maybe have their assistant finish the interview later, or maybe they want to finish an interview later. So with that in mind, we've taken the approach of not putting the process of the application into a can and forcing you into a certain way to do it. So we're not going to, now us as a company, we don't force the customer to spend 30 minutes to fill out a full 1003 unless that's what you want. Now, what we've done is we've built our system to have sort of a two-step process, and you can adapt this however your workflow is. So, for instance, and I'll be brief, okay? For instance, as a first step, we don't require account creation for the customer, and they could fill out the initial pre-app pre-qual form in 3 minutes or less, and then if you so choose to, you can have them redirected to create an account and flesh out the rest of the 1003, without triggering TRID, that is. And or maybe you say, hey, I want them to fill out the initial pre-app form, but I want to do the rest of the interview on the phone. So or maybe my assistant or something like that. So our system was built around not telling you, okay, this is the best way to take the app, but this is here's some options to work with how you want to interact with the customer and how you want to interview, or whether it be strictly digitally or a mix of both a digital, get them in the door, get them pre-qualified, start pulling credit, run DU, or flesh out the rest verbally on the phone. So anyway, we give you options, that's what I'm saying, because I don't think there is a canned best way to do it.
I think that's great, and everyone runs their business differently, so it's good to have those options to be able to do that. I'm going to do a follow-up to that question. How were you able to streamline this process in order to be able to scale it? If you would like to answer it, yes.
How are we able to streamline? Well, the way we've been able to streamline this is, again, I think, especially with these days, it's vital to give someone a very easy way from either a mobile device or desktop to begin the process, to get them in the door, and one thing I do want to point out, and all systems are different, but we're not, we didn't build our system to replace the originator. We built it to help make your job easier and make the customer experience easier. For instance, most of our customers, they get the pre-app in front of someone, they fill it out. They immediately get that text notification, and then they log in on their phone and they will pull credit and look at crunch the DTI, look at the cash close, do whatever they normally need to do, and then the customer can take a second step and flesh out the app. So I don't know if I answered your question at all. Am I just
to streamline it, to make it easier for the client?
Yeah. So bottom line is, it's very easy for the customer. Yeah.
And I think that's important because sometimes clients get very frustrated, so they don't want to spend a lot of time. So it's good that they have that option in the beginning. They can fill out the basic information, and then you can give them a call if they want to move forward with it, or over the phone, or they can continue online. Yes, because sometimes they'll give up, and that's important when there's so much for them to do. So thank you. We're going to do the next question to you, David, with Flowify. And this question is, what is the best way to use technology to manage lead sources?
To manage lead sources.
Lead sources and referrals.
Yeah, well, I mean, I saw a show of hands earlier about folks using CRMs, and a lot of folks were using them. And I've also spoken to folks who don't use CRMs or use Google Sheets or whatever. And so the best thing I can say is just use something and then get better at it every month. So like, we all use CRMs, but none of us are experts at them. So like, the thing is, you can't think that you're gonna be a CRM expert on day one or you're a failure,
Yes.
right? So it's just like every week, every month, get a little bit better, get your team a little bit better. It's just, I think it's all about trajectory, making sure you're heading in the right direction.
Yes, implementing it and staying on top of it.
Right.
It's important, and for me, I know CRM has been a big struggle for me, so that's one thing that I want to improve on is working with all of my leads that I have in my database. So
Yeah, like if I were in your shoes, the first thing I would do is like just pick something you're comfortable with and pick a single goal. Like everyone's gonna put into the CRM, you know, like when's the next follow-up date? When am I gonna next follow up with this client? Or when's the next date where something is important? And keep the key team accountable for keeping that up to date. You know, like pick a goal and then go for accountability.
and it's important to be alerted too when you put that in there. Hey, this is coming up, to understand so your team can have accountability to do that and follow up.
Yeah. With CRMs, I mean, it's definitely not just the mortgage broker industry. It's the everything industry. It is so easy to forget about the CRM because it's top of mind, pardon the pun, that you know what deals are hot. You know, you don't forget about your hot deals, but then what about the other ones? So, I mean, my thinking is you have to pick something and then you have to stick with it and keep your team accountable to using it.
And how would you suggest tracking and defining the success of each lead source?
I think for that, from my perspective, I'm not a broker, I'm just a software guy, but it's all about where do the leads come in from, what's the volume of leads from each channel, and what's the success rate. So if you can track the success rate, like I may get 25 leads from this source, but I only get one person who really wants to talk to me. But I get like 5 leads from that source a month, but I get 2 people who want to talk to me. So the success rate, or the pull-through rate, if you will, is better. So that's what I would measure. I mean, because at the end of the day, it's like a funnel, right? So you just want to make sure, you want to I would think you would want to look at each channel and see what lead source channel is going to get you farther down that funnel.
So using technology can really help you as a broker to monitor these things rather than trying to do it yourself. That's where technology can come in to really see this.
Yeah, I think without overwhelming yourself, that's what you got to do. I think it was like Anthony was talking about. It's sort of like, what if you took a 3-week vacation? What would happen to your business? You know?
Yeah.
And then just think about that. And how would you allow yourself to take a 3-week vacation?
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, we'll do the next question to you, Brandon, over there with Blend. And there is a lot of talk around services that will automatically collect income and assets for a borrower. In regards to automated assets, borrowers are required to authorize access by entering their bank username and password. How are borrowers viewing this type of service?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think one of the exciting things that's happening from a technology perspective in this space is that we're seeing a shift moving away from collecting documents to connecting to data, right? And so you see that there's a lot of technologies out there, there's a lot of platforms that offer that. We're seeing it with asset connectivity, we're seeing that with things, income and verifying that. And a lot of times these technologies, they've been out there for a while, but they've always been sort of a secondary or a tertiary step in the process, right? So I collect your information, I look at it, I type it into the system, it goes through the channels, and then at some point down the way, somebody's going to now engage with a piece of technology that's going to verify that what I receive from you in a PDF form is in fact correct or true. And so one of the things that we've done is taking some of that secondary and tertiary technology and just moved it up in the process. So when you talk about assets, if you see the blend flow, in our asset section, we provide borrowers the opportunity to log in directly to their asset institutions, whether it's checking, savings, brokerage, retirement, and they can actually pull real-time data into the platform versus uploading bank statements at the end, right? So instead of sending in 2 bank statements, people can actually connect to an asset account and import 60 days worth of transactional data as of close of business yesterday. So that does create some challenges because sometimes people will be a little bit hesitant about actually typing a username and password, into a system like Blend to pull that information in. Now, the funny thing is that the person who doesn't feel that comfortable typing their username or their login and password to their bank account in Blend is the same person who will send you their asset statements as an attachment over an unsecured email. So it just works out that way. I think like anything, with new technology, there's always going to be adoption, and that's going to take a while. We've been live with our asset solution for about 2 years now. And when we first rolled it out, we were seeing 15, 20% utilization. Now we're seeing connectivity as high as 60 to 70% from users. So I think as the technology gets better, and it's not just what's happening within a mortgage application, we're seeing this other places where, like in Mint, I can automatically import all my asset information with a login and password. Some systems that if you're going to do a reservation, they want you to verify that with a credit card information, or in some cases attaching to a bank. So I think as the technology grows, as it becomes more widespread, not just in mortgage, but in other areas, that we'll see adoption start to increase on it.
And then you don't have to worry about asking that borrower for that page 5 that says intentionally left blank.
Much like these guys, I spent quite a bit of time as an originator. I still have not received a good explanation as to why you need page 5 of 5. I don't know if you're ever going to get one. The one thing I will say that when we've rolled out Blend and LOs have seen this, or they've seen our asset connectivity, they've said, well, my borrowers aren't going to like this. They're not going to want to do this.
There's fear.
And what we find is that borrowers are fine with it. And actually, the LOs have now come around because if you're asking for asset statements, and I bank with Bank of America, and I have to go to Bank of America's website to get my asset statements, what am I likely to see there? Mortgage rates, right? So the LOs have actually really liking it because they're getting real-time information. The borrower is still captive, and they're able to now take an application, their documents, and move it into processing and on into underwriting without them having going someplace else.
Makes the loan process a lot more efficient.
It does.
We'll do a follow-up question to that. How do you recommend improving this adoption? You kind of answered that a little bit. And how have third-party verifications improved efficiency? I know you kind of answered these a little bit. If you just want to touch on them a little more.
Well, I think a lot of it is it's really on the borrower to feel comfortable doing it. And I think if you just sort of throw out a piece of technology and expect the borrower to have that comfort level, it's not going to work. It's really on the part of the LO or the broker to have that conversation ahead of time, queue their borrower up, let them know what they're going to be expecting. But I think it's also providing options. So if you have somebody who doesn't feel comfortable, who does want to send you those statements as an attachment, you need to be able to support that as well.
Yeah, actually, I agree with setting expectations for that borrower. I mean, that gets you 3/4 of the way there, setting expectations.
Yeah, I found that if you set up expectations in the beginning, it goes a lot smoother. They know what to expect, and they're not calling you all the time, worrying about things. So that's great. Well, we have a last question here, and if you each want to take some time to answer it, I'll have that. We'll start with you, and then we'll just go down the line. What core systems would you recommend to mortgage brokers in order to run a successful business?
Oh, like a business class?
Or what systems would you suggest for them to use to help improve their business, their
what
daily
systems?
business? Yes.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no problem.
It's a good question. Nothing's springing to mind. I think what brokers already do, talking to customers. I think the other aspects, every broker here, they're already a small business owner. So I think that's always been, that I've seen, the biggest, most difficult hump to get over is like, do I go from a W-2 retail shop, or do I go out on my own? And to prepare for that, I don't have any grand answers other than the most obvious things, and keeping them simple, like keeping your accounting system really simple, keeping your employment contracts simple. Again, setting expectations, watching your budgeting, turn a profit. Try to replace yourself as a business owner. I think that's one thing that I would, ask everyone to maybe think about, is like, what can you do to, again, it goes back to the 3-week vacation. If your business is dependent upon you, it is difficult to scale.
Well, and not only is technology in the process for the clients, but also internally for your company to improve your employees, the way that they're doing things, so they're more efficient as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of, you can tune a lot of your software systems that you use internally, and so sometimes I call it lather, rinse, repeat, or nail it and scale it, like to figure out a business process that works in your office with your software, whatever it may be, like email, Slack, your accounting system, whatever, and then just reinforcing that to your team regularly, like, hey guys, this is how we do this, and reinforcing that periodically, and then I think that gets a lot of scalability. And then it's just looking for monthly improvements, like never staying static.
Do you want me to repeat the question?
Yeah,
Or?
can you please repeat that question?
Yes, no problem. What core systems would you recommend to mortgage brokers in order to run a successful business?
This is a very easy answer. You absolutely, without question, need pre-app 1003. Period. No, and I mean that. I'm a little biased, but I do want to say, Blend is a great system. Flowify is a great. I hear nothing but good about every platform. I hear great things about our platform. I hear nothing but good about all these systems. I think what you need to figure out as a broker is, what's going to work best for you, because people are going to love our system, and there may be people that love Flowify and don't like. There may be things that or Blend. So, I think the prudent thing is to look at these systems. You go to the websites, and maybe we could give our web addresses there toward the end of this, and see what would best suit you. I will say that, I know all 3 systems here have digital verifications. We talked about, Brandon mentioned that earlier. All of us are doing that. Automated underwriting. I know, these are things that we're all, on sort of a level playing field here. Now, I will point out one thing about our system that what I think is very interesting is loan officers, and we're actually coaching loan officers and brokers about this, but there's ways you can leverage our system to generate leads for your company, and so I'm not going to say exactly how. There's a webinar that we do that will coach you, but one of the top producers for a very large nationwide correspondent lender knows she's not a broker, and nobody's perfect, okay? So, but she followed our coaching, and in the first campaign, she captured 90 leads and locked 2 loans that first weekend. One was $500,000. So we actually will show you how to leverage our system in order to generate business. And then obviously once you get the business in, yes, you got the ease of use to customer, ease of use for you, pulling credit, digital verifications. We're 2 weeks out from running DO, and other things. But again, I would say look at all 3 platforms and figure out what's going to work best for you, because you may not like us. You may like Blend. You may like Flowify. It does not hurt our feelings. Some of you guys are going to absolutely love pre-app 1003. But my answer to the question is you absolutely need pre-app. Okay?
So Brandon, I'm going to kind of go off of that for you. What should mortgage brokers focus on when they're selecting a technology partner?
Well, I think number one, something you're going to use. Doesn't really matter how much money technology is like gym memberships. You got some that cost $20 a month, you've got some that cost $200, but they don't do anything if you don't use it, right? So even if your technology solution is a yellow pad of paper, if that's what you're using and it's being effective, that's the one to go with. And I will say, to the original question, I think one of the challenges that we have in this industry, not just brokers, but LOs in general, is it's real easy to confuse being busy with being productive. And when you look at what's involved being a business owner and being an LO and going out and generate leads and establishing relationships and meeting realtors, that's really where the core, I think, of this business and the people that are successful are really focusing their time. And so I think when you're looking at systems or technologies or solution, you really want to focus something that can cover the C and D level activities so that you can focus on the A and B level activities. If you think your job is chasing down page 5 of 5 or trying to teach somebody how to do a screenshot so they can send you proof of transfer, we know that stuff that has to be done, but there's a lot of systems out there that should be doing that work for you. I think really where you should be investing in technology is systems that will free those types of activities up so you can do the things you're good at, which is those things I mentioned, getting realtor relationships, driving referral business, doing all those things. So.
Can I add just a little bit to that?
Yes, go.
Yeah, I really liked your answer, Brandon, about use the software that you're actually going to use. I think that's one of the biggest things that we as human beings, we say we want to use whatever, Salesforce, for example, but then you never get around to it. Maybe it's a little difficult. So yeah, I totally agree with that. And then the other thing I would just point out would be, as people, we tend to learn the features of a bit of software when you're acquiring it and you first start to use it, and then you zero in on that set of features that were there on day one. And 6 months later, that vendor has come out with this wealth of awesome new capabilities. And you're too busy to see what they are and see how they might be able to improve your workflow. So I see that a lot. Folks, they come in on day one and they use some bit of software, and then a year later, they don't know what the extra features are, and they don't realize how many more benefits they could get. So I would say it's that goes back to the continuous education, continuous improvement. So don't just
stuck in your daily workflow, that you're not looking at all the upgrades and how to implement that into your business. You just learn it right away, and that's all you do, and you're not taking advantage of all the other things that may be available to you.
Right. It's just so easy to learn what you know about the software on day one, and then assume it's locked, frozen in time at that point forward, and it's not. And you can improve your business so much better if you stay in touch with what's happening with your vendors.
So really, technology as a mortgage broker, independent mortgage broker, owner, loan officer, can really improve your daily life, your processor's daily life, so you can go out and concentrate on getting more business, growing your business, attracting other loan officers to your company, because you're going to provide benefit to them, provide benefit to the clients, and your staff. Your staff is going to love you more as well.
Yeah.
They're not going to be chasing down those bank statements.
You definitely want to take care of your staff.
Definitely.
Can I add something to this? One thing, I know there's a lot of technology out there that are, proprietary to different lenders and everything. But one thing I want to point out about the 3 systems up on here is, and also just as a broker owner, I know this. There is a sense of autonomy. Why are you a broker? Because you like being independent, and you like the freedom. And so, adopting a system that really gives you that autonomy is I think is important, would you mind if we just shared our websites? What's your web address?
Oh, it's just flowfi.com.
Flowfi.com. Check out Flowfi. What's Blend's?
Blend.com.
Blend.com. Okay. And if you want to check out us, you could text the word AIME to 33655, and if you can't remember that, at our booth, it's you could do that. But text AIME to 33655. You could check out Pre-App 1003. Okay.
Before we end this session, would anyone like to add anything else today?
Yeah, I would just maybe I could start down this end. I would just say that we talk about technology and service to the LO and the broker, and I think that's all very important. I think. The one thing that I would just leave you with is that, we've trained about 14,000 users on the Blend platform, LOs across, different entities, mortgage banks, credit unions, that sort of thing. I think one thing that does get missed often is that a lot of people don't understand there's a huge difference between customer experience and customer service, right? An example of what I'm talking about is it's very possible for me to deal with a nice person at the DMV. Right? But even though I got really good customer service, the experience is wasn't all that great, right? Doesn't mean it's going to happen, but it's possible. So the one thing I would just leave you with is that it's very important to make sure that when you're dealing with your borrowers out there, don't make any assumptions on what you think they want to do. Make sure you're able to provide them with an engagement option that's right for the borrower over being right for you. So if you have a borrower who wants to come in, do things face to face, support it. If you have somebody who wants to give you their information over the phone, make sure you can support that. If you have somebody who would rather not talk to you and just go straight to a website and do everything, make sure you support that as well. But what's really crucial, I think, in this market and moving forward is you've got to be prepared to go to where the borrower or the consumer wants to be met on their terms. I think it's very important.
And that goes back to setting expectations for them. And I think that's important and well said, that the experience is very important for the borrower. Yes?
I have a question. We've been dealing with trigger leads with credit reports, and I think it's Brandon, you had talked about how your system's now pulling the bank statements and things from the major lending institutions. Do you see them being able to have the ability to know that we have a client that's pulling the big statements, and now that's a trigger as well? And how are we going to counter that from the client being taken back from the big institutions?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't think I have an answer for you on if that could potentially happen. I will tell you that the technology that we've built to do that is something that we're not outsourcing it to a third party, and so we feel that data integrity and protecting the value of the consumer is very important to us. So I think anything is possible. I mean, we saw it with credit reports. My understanding to your point is that it's not the actual credit report. It's if your borrower has gone to either Equifax or one of the bureaus and signed up for Credit Watch. That's how they're getting that trigger information. Don't quote me on that, but that's my understanding about it. But yeah, I think it's also important, on the vendors that you're working with to make sure they're not selling your borrower's information for some other purpose.
Well, we're just about out of time, and I want to thank each and every one of you. And I think today, if I take anything away from this, is as an independent mortgage broker, owner, loan officer, technology is going to be key in our business moving forward, and to really help the client experience, to really help grow your business and improve your business. So I want to thank every one of you for being here today. And again, we have David Sims, the CEO of Flowify, Drew Brents, the CEO of Pre-App 1003, and Brandon Hoyles, the utilization and enablement leader of Blend. So thank you guys so much.
Thanks, Lisa. That was great.